Hello again, ladies and gentlemen. Michael Matt coming to you once again, very briefly tonight from the offices of the Remnant newspaper. Well, the million Trump voters were out en masse today in our nation's capital supporting Donald Trump and fighting for an open and fair election. As an old college buddy of mine who lives out in Northern Virginia, as he put it today in a tweet, he said, over 1 million America lovers in D.C. today. No riots, no bricks, no Molotov cocktails, no shrieking expletives in cops' faces. No smashing windows, no looting, no arson, just love of America and appreciation of the president. Here's a bit of that excellent coverage that was provided of today's march in D.C. by our friends over at LifeSite News.
I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of people have showed up today. This is the most patriotic spot in the United States of America right now. And the people here have come to deliver one message to President Trump. Do not quit. Is that right?
Not a lot of masks out there, are they? So I don't really know how many more of these super spreaders have to take place in the national limelight before people begin to wake up and realize what's going on here. I mean, I've been to a bunch of these super spreaders, including 2 Trump rallies, very few masks. Nothing happened to anybody. Everybody's fine. You know, I was actually out, as I told you a few months ago. We were out in South Dakota and went to Sturgis just to see what had happened there, not during the rally, the motorcycle rally, but afterwards. And everybody was fine. Now, the national news was saying that Sturgis had been a super spreader because some company in Germany actually had been pinging phones from everybody who was at Sturgis, and then they were using World Health Organization statistics or on probability to say, well, it must have spread. It must have been a super spreader. This is how these people work. I mean, it's absolutely insane. There was no super spreader after the Sturgis motorcycle rally. There wasn't. They said there must be because we know how this spreads. This is absolute bunk, friends. Complete nonsense. And now today in D.C., there's another big super spreader, and nothing's going to happen, even though everybody was there and very few people were masked up. Because COVID is all about the Great Reset, isn't it? Folks in Davos, Switzerland, the UN, they don't want therapeutics. That's why they were so against hydroxy, right? They don't want a vaccine, at least not anytime soon. You know why? Because they want you to be terrified. Because they got a job to do. So a vaccine even is a little carrot on a stick out in front of the donkey, right? It's always going to keep on advancing, though, because we're just going for that vaccine so we can stay safe. You know, and this is what Donald Trump, the warp speed thing, everybody's like, oh, man, he's a bad guy. He wanted warp speed, you know. Did you see what he was doing? He was trying to beat the Great Reset. He was like, I will warp speed you a vaccine. And what happened? They went nuts. They didn't want a vaccine from Donald Trump because it's never been about vaccines. Not really. Oh, ultimately, sure, they want a vaccine to chip us all. But the Great Reset is the most important thing. The Great Reset needs time. You see? They don't want a vaccine to come down and fix COVID right away because then we get to go back to the old normal. They don't want that. We have to go to the new normal. You see how it works? You know, so now the governor of Minnesota, he's out there telling us that 18 to 35-year-olds need to get a test. What the hell for? You know, it wasn't just a few months ago that Fauci and everybody, all the experts were saying, if you don't feel symptomatic, don't bother getting a test. Remember all that? Now this clown is telling everybody to go. We're going to set testing places up all over the town. Well, not in Minneapolis, because that one's burning down, and there's hijacking and shootings going on all the time. So not right downtown Minneapolis, but all around the city, we're going to have testing everywhere. What for? What are we going to do with these tests? You know, what are you going to do with that? If you're asymptomatic, what's the point again? It's so that the number of scary cases, the case-demic, can keep going up, and then we can keep being scared, and then we can keep being locked down. Because they're moving the goalposts once again. It's no longer that we're going to have a shortage of hospital beds. Nope. It's not going to be a run on hospitals. Nope. They can't prove that. It's not going to be a super high death rate. Nope, because that's not happening. So you know what they're saying now? Oh, they're saying it's the frontline heroes are getting sick. Now think about that, friends. The frontline heroes are getting sick? These people have been dressed like astronauts for months. They're masked, they're shielded, they're wearing PPE, tons of it all the time, every day. They're professionals, they know how to use it. And they're trying to tell us now that the frontline heroes are going down, so we need to mask up and not celebrate Thanksgiving? Why am I wearing a mask if professional first responders, frontline heroes are catching this thing completely masked up? You see, they're making things up. There is no logic. And if you start trying to ferret out the logic, well, and you're just demonstrating your white privilege. You see? You know, have there been deaths in this country? Some people have lost elderly parents. Christopher Ferrara lost his father during the worst of the COVID pandemic because they had him locked in a nursing home. Yeah, people have died from this. We've said this all along. This is a nasty virus, but not nasty enough to warrant the lockdowns that are coming again right now, shutting down our lives, throwing people into depression, making so they can't go to work, they can't go to restaurants, they can't go to games. This is not worth it, friends.
Look what's happened to smallholder farmers all over the world because their markets have got dented. Look what's happening to poverty levels. It seems that we may well have a doubling of world poverty by next year. We may well have at least a doubling of child malnutrition because children are not getting meals at school and their parents in poor families are not able to afford it. This is a terrible, ghastly global catastrophe, actually. And so we really do appeal to all world leaders. Stop using lockdown as your primary control method.
Now, Minnesota, down into lockdown. 10 people for Thanksgiving. Can't even do it outside with more than 10 people on Thanksgiving. New York is going into a 10 o'clock curfew now because Andy Cuomo cares so much about New Yorkers. California's going down. Well, California's nuts. Who cares? But now New Mexico has ordered a 2-week lockdown just yesterday to, wait for it, slow the spread. Okay, remember when one of the definitions of insanity was to do the same thing over and over again and expect a different result? Do you remember that? That was a fairly standard definition of insanity. We are doing the same things over and over again and expecting a different result because we're nuts. That's what's going on. This is crazy. Look, I wanted to do a positive show, and I've already got myself all upset because these people drive me nuts. You know my opinion on this, and I'm not going to go over it again tonight. Instead, I've got something a little different, and I think is something beautiful and very positive. And here's how it starts out. Not very positive, but it's finally happened here at the Remnant. COVID-19 has made its way to the Remnant. One of our best producers, Tess Mullins, some of you know her. She does some of our commercial advertising work on video as well. She has contracted COVID-19 and is at this moment a bit under the weather, so please keep her in your prayers. My wife's brother has coronavirus right now. He's in the middle of recovering himself at home, never had to go to the hospital either. I have many friends who have contracted this disease, this virus, and all of them, thanks be to God, have fully recovered, which isn't even sort of surprising since the COVID recovery rate is still at 99+%. Why should we be panicking? You see? So, I said I was going to be positive. I am going to be positive. As we all prepare now to be locked down again, I asked Tess Mullins, again, who's home right now, walking around probably in her cozies and drinking tea and trying to get better, trying to get over this thing. I asked her if she had the strength to interview her friend and her landlady, a beautiful woman who I've never met. Her name is Kathy. She's suffering really from a very bad case of COVID. She went to the emergency room a few days ago with COVID, and she went down hard with this thing, so hard that it was difficult for her even to walk, to keep her balance when she would get out of bed. So she had it really bad. And then 2 days ago, she began perking up. And since Tess Mullins so far has a milder case because she's younger, I asked these two ladies again to have a little chat about COVID and let us know what that's like. This is a little something different, but I'd encourage you to share it far and wide as you possibly can before they lock you down, before they lock this country down once again for absolutely no reason at all other than to scare, terrorize, and control us. I'm Michael Matt for Remnant TV, and I'll see you again in a couple of days.
I'm a 74-year-old retired nurse, mother of 7, grandmother of 32, soon to be great grandmother of number 3, and been around the block a few times.
Yeah, you've seen a lot of sickness, but you haven't ever been this sick.
Well,
right?
I was uncomfortable, really uncomfortable the last time that I had the flu, but it's been so many years. I think the good Lord lets you to just kind of forget those things. Just like I forgot the whole first week of this coronavirus nonsense. But here I am, alive and well and breathing. Thank you, Lord.
But like, how did it go? Because you were still kind of up and about the first week. And then there were a couple of days where I was kind of worried about you.
Yeah. I think the exposure came probably on the 29th of October because Chris's mom and dad both got sick. His brother got sick. I got sick. We all had the same symptoms. John's a little younger, so he went through it a whole lot faster, which was, I'm so grateful for that because he's the father of soon to be 5.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
Totally
he needs to be up and about. But Rick and Joan and I are all about the same age, and so we've just kind of struggled through this. But yeah, the first week was kind of like, I didn't feel my usual yippee yay rah rah. I can get a lot of stuff done self. And I had a temp, 102, which is like about 6 degrees above normal for me. Started noticing some respiratory effort. Wasn't hungry. I lost my appetite pretty quickly. And at my age, I am not looking forward to losing any weight, but I lost probably about 5 pounds.
Oh wow, okay.
I know, a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, just kind of was a little labile, and I knew I was getting sick, so I did all the usual nursey stuff, fluids. I took a pack of Zithromax, which I thought might be helpful. I did some Plaquenil, which is, we've had good reports on the results of those.
But didn't you say you took hydroxy as well? Didn't you have some?
Hydroxychloroquine, the Plaquenil.
Oh, that's Plaquenil. Shows what I know. I'm not a nurse.
You know the fancy word, but I'll tell you the common English term. Yeah, some friends of mine were able to get it for me from a physician in some drugstores down in Mexico, which was very kind. Yeah, I was up and down and kind of not feeling terrible except for the temp, and I knew I was not getting enough fluids and started feeling really dry. And the chesty stuff, the bronchitis, we knew was not a good thing. So I did some of my own nebs, the nebulizer treatments that were, all the normal nursey stuff that we do.
So then you got your test on
this past Tuesday.
Right. And then it came back positive, but we weren't surprised.
Yeah, we were pretty sure this was all going to be coronavirus. I mean, you know that I have not masked, right?
Right.
I've been pretty defiant traveling, and
you don't regret any of that though, right?
Nope, I don't, because I really still believe that what I learned in nursing school 100 years ago about herd immunity and the beautiful immune system that God provided us with is we were not meant to be stuck in a hidey hole if you're well. You're not meant to mask if you're well. In fact, some people who mask when they're well drop their oxygen saturation and they get tachycardic.
Right.
It's just not a healthy thing. And we know that it's bad for kids, especially the teens who are breaking out around their masks. You and I talked about this a lot.
Yeah.
But no, I think when I went into the hospital, I just went because I needed some volume, needed the fluids, and got those on board. But I think I was kind of maybe turning the corner anyway.
Yeah. Because by the next day you already felt a lot better.
Yeah, I was. But they tested me for flu and COVID, and of course I was positive. Which means herd immunity works. They
Yeah.
shouldn't be surprised that we're having this big rebound
Yeah.
when folks are finally coming out of their hidey holes. And
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but just cases. I mean, there's not the death
the
count,
death,
as far as I know.
the
is
death
still,
toll has absolutely plateaued.
Mhm.
People are being tested and are positive.
Mhm.
Means they've been exposed. I wish they'd use the correct terminology. It makes me get a little hot under the collar. That they call every positive test a case. It's not.
Right.
The case is I've gone to the hospital, I'm sick as a dog, feel like I've been hit by a truck, which, by the way, you do. And, oh, by the way.
By the way, it's not fun.
But they need to correct terminology because, I mean, I know it's designed to frighten people.
Mm-hmm.
And this is wonderful stuff for germaphobes. I know they're just in their heaven. But it teaches us not to be afraid to die. We shouldn't be afraid.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
you know, you and I talked last night about people who have underlying medical and health conditions. You've got cardiac disease, you've got bad lungs, you've got immune deficiencies, you've got a lot of other things that could be possibly deadly for you if you get a really bad virus.
Mm-hmm.
And the coronavirus has been so manipulated in the lab to
Yeah.
be a really foul virus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's working, by the way.
Yeah.
But people still need to be out there and have the normal exposure.
Yeah. So the lockdowns and all that, you still think?
I think
absolutely.
it's ridiculous. I think that we're doing all the wrong things
Yeah.
for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah. So how do you think that there's several governors now
Mhm.
that are going back into lockdowns? New York, Minnesota, California, and all that.
The usual suspects.
But yeah, the usual suspect. But do you think that? I mean, how do you think they should be approaching it?
Well, if they look back at Immunology 101, you don't isolate healthy people ever. They should be out and about doing the normal things because the immune system works on the premise that you and I are exposed to bacteria and viruses in the air every single day.
Mm-hmm.
And our immune system steps up. It's a godly process and program, but our immune system steps up and it allows us to create antibodies, and we stay well. Most of the time we've been exposed to all kinds of stuff you and I will never know until we take our last breath. How many times we've been exposed and we've been protected by this lovely immune system God created for us.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things that I think people are missing is it's part of the plandemic.
Yeah.
So the foolishness is, why are they surprised that this lockdown stuff is not working? Well, it's not meant to work. You don't lock away healthy people. You let them loose.
Right.
You put the sick people away. So they're assuming, oh, that's a terrible word, presuming that we aren't smart enough to know to wash our hands, to cover a cough,
Mm-hmm.
and to stay home if you're sick. I mean, those are just common sense things. But I think they think that we're not smart enough to know that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so they have to terrify you somehow. Another lockdown isn't going to change a thing.
Yeah.
Except it will hurt more people.
Yeah.
More folks will lose their jobs. More people will be hungry.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a hurtful thing to do. And if, I don't know, I felt last night, Tess, like if people really profess to love this country, they would not be as hurtful as they've been to the small people that run this country.
Yeah.
That are a part of our country,
Mm-hmm.
that deserve a chance, that have worked so hard, some of them to build little mom and pop businesses. And when I drove through Texas last time, I couldn't believe all the little villages along the way that were just devastated. How are they surviving?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which is where my co-op idea comes from.
Well,
That's another story for another day.
well, I don't know because I wanted to ask you too about just, you think that this is all, you said pandemic, so it's all part of the whole process. It's all to,
Absolutely.
Shut down the economy,
Absolutely.
to get Trump out of office even.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's like my sisters. I told them they were going to have to name a confessional after me for all the bad thoughts I've had about Dr. Slouchy and
Dr. Slouchy.
Dr. Slouchy and
what
Soros
you
and
wanna
Pelosi and Abomination and all those people. I'm going to drop them out of the back of a C-135. A C-130 would be better because it's bigger. And drop them in the middle of the Pacific and let them swim. I said, if the doctor doesn't swim any better than he throws a baseball, we're good. And she's back to the confessional. I'm sorry, folks. That's just the way
It's okay. It's the way it feels. How a lot of people feel.
No, I still have trouble. I know we're supposed to pray. I know we're supposed to pray for them, but man, if I pray for them, it's only by accident and by the grace of God, because I certainly don't do it on purpose. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
On purpose. Oh man.
And for all those whom we've been asked to pray, done.
Yeah, right.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
They
Yeah,
do what
it's
they want
just,
with it.
it's funny stuff. But, all the crazy people that have felt like this rebound is just, Chicken Little, the sky is falling. It's normal stuff. It's normal exposure when people come out of their hidey holes, and that's all you can say.
Yeah.
So, I feel bad for people who are terrified, but
Yeah, that's what what do you say to them? Even people because of course you're in the most vulnerable.
I am so vulnerable. It's just terrified.
Well, what do you say to them then?
I just don't think you need to be afraid. And first of all, you should try to be taking care of yourself and be healthy anyway. I mean, exercise, take care of other people, because then you don't concentrate so much on yourself. And I don't think we need to be doing that at our age. We have the freedom at this age, which I love, to be able to give freely to others, while when you're a young mom or a young woman, you have your job, you have a family, you have so many other things that you're preoccupied with, and it's such a joy to be able to think about, I have whatever years God has given me left to be a servant.
Yeah.
I mean, you're a servant when you're changing a diaper and putting food in a little baby's mouth, right? Anyway, especially when you see some of those diapers.
Come back your money inside.
But the real bottom line is, fear, I think, we know it's a tool of the devil. He wants us to be fearful. He wants us to be hopeless, which explains the increase in depression and in suicide, particularly in young people.
Yeah.
We've taken God away from them, so how can they be hopeful?
Yeah, that's really true.
Right? So I think you have to understand that fear is not coming from any place that is godly. It's just not.
Yeah. And then building back up then. You just kind of, you got it.
Yeah.
You just get through it.
Got it.
Had
the virus, got the t-shirt.
Got the t-shirt.
Moving on.
There are t-shirts too. We should go look for some.
Yeah, we should find had the COVID t-shirt.
But isn't it weird too how there's so many people that have got it and recovered, and even in high places, Trump, obviously,
Mr. and Mrs.
but
Trump.
Everybody wants to move on from that really fast
Of course.
and focus back on, just the
The
spike.
sky is falling.
Yeah, right.
There's so many more cases.
The case of it. So,
Yum.
I hope that this helps, because I hope that people, see that it's something you can beat. And you said you felt like you would feel better if you got hit by a truck
Probably.
for a couple of days, but you do.
Well, my sister said you'd feel better if you'd been dead 3 days. I didn't like that part so much. I like getting hit by a truck part a little bit. Yeah, that's more believable and something that you can recover from. Whereas when you're dead, you're gone.
Yeah.
And you're done. But
most people aren't when they get this.
no, and the other good thing is, you use some good common sense. So we've had our lovely friends bring us chicken soup. We've had fresh bone broth. We've been taking lots of extra vitamin C. So you just do all the things that are meant to take good care of yourself. We've had the extra, we've been taking zinc all along, which we know is very helpful as an antiviral. But you just have to work hard and want to be better.
Yeah.
You have to want to function. The other thing that I think we should remember that comes from this is there are so many times when you feel invincible. Even I'm almost 75, right? 3/4 of a century, that's like,
Nah.
How old was Methuselah?
Oh, much older.
Much
So don't
older.
even worry
He's an
about it.
older man,
Yeah.
so okay, I'm good. I think one of the things when you have a lot of energy and you've been blessed with lots of good energy and good genes, good genetic makeup, is that you take for granted your wellness. You really do take for granted that you are able to get up every morning and move and do all the things that you really feel like need to get done.
Yeah.
And don't have to snooze during the day. You just, we talked about this, the gardening, the canning, being able to help the grandkids do all that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
all the good stuff.
So I think when you get laid low every once in a while, it's just a reminder, it's a humbling moment when you realize you are not invincible.
Yeah.
And you get up in the morning by the grace of God.
Yeah.
So I'm very, very thankful that even though this has not been a pleasant experience, I don't regret having had the virus, because then you can be maybe hopeful for somebody else when they get sick.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I'm good.
it's good stuff.
It ends up being okay, man.
Yeah, we're still breathing, laughing.